dated and widowed people date again.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love to share our information with them on the Widowers Support Network. It was great.
Yeah, very special gift.
Yeah.
So
Here we are today. Today, we're on the newsstreamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast, #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine. You're in red today.
Yes, today is my red day. I was in the mood. I was writing this morning, and I said, and I think about, what am I going to wear? I think I'm in the mood for red. All red. So I was thinking, I bet this is a question that lots of people don't ask themselves in the first place, and they really don't know the answer even when they ask themselves. So the subject today is, you might not be ready for a new relationship if, and Barry and I are going to finish that sentence in all sorts of interesting directions if I could get it out.
That was very entertaining the way you put it. The thing I'll say that this is really this is kind of where everything, it's like kind of where the rubber meets the road sort of thing. Because we talk a lot about, when you're dating, how to go about it, things like that. But the question we're saying, you might not be ready for a new relationship is the key, because most people don't necessarily consider that question, because they're like, I'm done being lonely and going to be in a relationship, or I'm too much in love with my ex, I don't want to go forward, sort of thing. So all these different species are going to talk about it. But the key thing is to really consider, before you even go on a date or go on the dating apps, are you really ready? And so this topic is going to be helpful for you to clarify that.
For sure. And so often I see on the Facebook pages, people say, I don't want to settle. So I always tell people, I think that's a really good plan. What does that mean? And 90% say, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know, that's when often you're not ready, and you will get in a relationship before you're ready, which will then feel like settled.
Yeah.
Because settling does not mean negotiating. Settling does not mean you don't get every single thing you're asking for, because nobody gets everything they ask for.
Right.
It means settling means you're unhappy. In my definition is, if you're settling, I'm sure there's lots of definitions, but in my world, you're really not happy enough. You're not happy enough with your choice. You're not happy enough with the person. And I think not being ready and not deciding that you're not ready is a big part of ending up unhappy and feeling like you settled in a bad way.
Well, the thing on that word in particular, I want to play with a little bit, because it's often used as a term, like you get married and settle down.
Yeah.
So right there in the context is that you're going to have to settle, and settling also means settling for less than something. That's the way it comes in the context. So the idea about getting married and settling down implies you get married to somebody who you not really ideally want to be with, and you settle down being put up with less than you really want. So the whole framing for me just is so inaccurate and also not helpful, because, as you said exactly, you're going to be disappointed, because what you're doing is saying, I don't deserve what I think I really want, so I'll settle for less than that. So yeah, not good.
So that was one of the first points I wanted to make, that if in any area you think you're not enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough, not tall enough, not skinny enough, not educated enough, not wealthy enough, there's a lot of categories that people can feel not enough. And sometimes it's more than one of those things. Yes. So if you could be honest with yourself and say, yeah, I really don't feel comfortable financially, or I don't feel comfortable in my body, or I don't feel comfortable with my education level, that's not a time to date. That's a time to go, what can I do about that? I have total control over that. And what's really fascinating is, often you really are a lot of that thing. You just haven't felt good enough about it. You haven't acknowledged, because the reason that we feel less than usually is because we're busy comparing to other people. And one of the most amazing things I discovered, I talk about all the stuff I discovered while I was dating. I just got such an education.
Right.
Was one guy said, and it so makes sense. And I know I thought it, but it hadn't ever sunk in. You know, there's always going to be people smarter, taller, skinnier, richer. And there's always going to be people less tall, less skinny, less rich. And I was like, oh, well, then it's silly to compare. Really silly to compare. It made so much sense because we generally only look at who has more of what we think we have less than. We
Right.
often don't look at the people who have less than. And what's really fascinating is if you pay attention to some of the people that have what you think is less, they're perfectly happy. Perfectly happy because they think they're enough. They believe they're enough. And whatever this way is, that you're like, geez, they're less and I'm more and I still feel less than. That's kind of crazy. That's a kind of fun way to look at stuff.
Well, the reality of this, and I bring sort of spiritual stuff into this too, is that if we step back a minute from the human and the physical for a second, just look at the world as an opportunity to be in the world, so to speak. There's going to be different roles that everybody plays, and different presentations people get to make.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, though, we are all the same underneath all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yes, we may have different skin color, different hair color, different skin conditions, old, young, all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, we're still the best individuals we can be of ourselves. And so comparing ourselves to other people, just to underline what you said, the only person you should compare yourself with is your yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Because your only competition really is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there's all the rat race stuff and all things promoted about how you got to beat other people to get to the goal and be more successful and all that sort of stuff. This is a false premise. And it's what we've been told basically to build society, frankly. It wasn't about our success, it's about society's success. So when we start recognizing that who we are is okay, is whole, is worthy, is deserving, and it doesn't compare unfavorably with anybody, better or worse, it doesn't make a difference. Yes, you can look at other people and go, oh, that'd be cool if I had that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, entertain the idea. It doesn't make you less worthy because of it. So yeah, get off that false belief.
So I think one of the ways to look at it in such a positive way is, well, this person knows more about this than I do. I'll interview them or I'll go learn something more about it. If I think I'll have a better life if I know more about this, then I'm going to go learn more about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I won't feel less than anymore. And the thing that I have discovered, because I've talked a lot about how I've had all these women to coach, no matter how they physically look, they have all this criticism about their body.
Right.
That when we work together enough that they now get fine with however their body is, the things that they are happy with that don't bother them anymore. And if there's something they go, well, yeah, I'd still like this, they've lost weight pretty effortlessly. They've gotten back to exercise pretty effortlessly. And they're like, why? And I said, well, think of all the energy you use to keep putting yourself down and comparing yourself. That if you have that energy available to do something else with, now you're like, oh, I could concentrate on going for a walk or thinking, gosh, I'd like to be more fit because I want to go do this thing. I want to start playing pickleball. So I'm going to start walking so that I'll have more energy for that. And it's been easier and more gentle to get to that goal when they start from, I'm good enough already.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
It's such a stumbling block for people. They're not good enough. Oh.
Yeah. The thing that the stuff we carry in life anyway, regardless of relationship, is enough to keep us busy for most of our lives. So the sooner we can start moving forward and tying up loose ends, clearing things out, making those things into the history so we can move forward from that place is such a great gift. And the relationship piece just makes another level to that. One more piece, there's so much we can talk about, the if piece of this conversation, but a lot of times people are not ready for a new relationship if they haven't figured out what they've been doing in the previous relationships that made the same result they didn't want. That's the biggest thing I had to learn many times over in my relationships. And I said this before in a recent interview, that I had performed the same function in 3 different relationships. And I was the nice guy, so I made sure she broke up with me. That was the way I set it up. I'm such a nice guy, in quotes. So rather than being honest and upfront and saying this isn't going to work, I had them leave me. But the last one of the 3 was kind enough and upset enough to tell me the truth. And I say it that way intentionally because in hindsight, I'm so glad she did, because it changed my life in a good way. At the time, it sucked and it was painful. But the reality was that she gave me such a gift because she told me what I wasn't being for her. And I was oblivious. I didn't know. So to have the light shone on that part of the piece I denied gave me homework. And I'm grateful because frankly, it's what launched me into this work in the first place back in 2007. And this understanding was such a key because it showed me that I had work to do, first of all, because I didn't have at that point recognition I need to change from the previous relationship. But now I did. I had grist for the mill. I had ammunition to work with, stuff to do with things. And the funny thing was, and I shared this also in the story, is that, after that breakup, I was like, I didn't know how to solve it, but I knew I had to fix what was amiss, what was not working. Yeah. Within 3 months, I met somebody who led me to some teachers that gave me what I needed. It was that quick because he's like saying effortless with exercising. I didn't know how to fix the issue, how to find the answer to the question, but I put out the request internally or to spirit, whatever. Our universe is very responsive to us. So if we do have a question or uncertainty or question or a challenge to face, if we just put out a request of how to navigate what's next, you'd be surprised how easily the response comes back. For the sake of me, within 3 months, I had my answer. And it was a game changer for me. So I'm very grateful for that. So I'm just saying, as an experience, it's worth being willing to ask for help, because it's what you get.
Such a good point, because I think so much of what we're going to talk about today specifically is you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And that's really the crux of this talk today. So that when you go, oh, is that me? Could that be me? Do I see a little glimmer of that? Do I see it annoys me a lot when other people do it? Because sometimes that's a really good telltale about it, something that we don't acknowledge in ourselves, when it just pisses us off over and over and over that other people are doing it. And then once we go, oh, there's that, and then we have to, oh my God, what kind of a person's like that? And oh, how come I didn't figure it out before? And boy, there's another thing I'm not good at. And when we get past that, we can go, oh, and I could do something about it. And that is the thing that's amazing that I've discovered as well with my spiritual practices, and the way I believe is I often don't have to think about the how. I get in my way when I think about the how. I just go, oh, I now know I need to learn this. I need to hear about this. I need somebody that does this. It's been amazing. And it's funny how sometimes, the first person shows up and you're like, oh, I didn't notice. And then it was like the second person, I'm like, gosh, you're the second. And then there's the third person in like a week. Okay, I've got it. Okay, I'm going to do that thing that's so obtuse and maybe I've never thought of. And it is pivotal. It has made things like that have just changed in my life. And that's what I believe happens with this particular piece as well, with getting ready for a relationship is, well, what is in the way? What in the heck could be in the way? Because it's not all them. Because if you're consistently meeting whoever that is, them, then the constant is you. So what is it about you that's attracting them or being attracted to them? Because certainly I've talked a lot about that's how I became a coach, because I had to redo the way I was dating people. And to say, well, what do I need to learn about that? What is there out there to learn about that? Who's got that figured out? Who's accomplished that on their own, or who's teaching that? And then just go seek out the information, because this is where you go, well, I'm not enough. What could I learn? Because Google is wonderful for a search. The library is wonderful for a research. And so when you say, oh, I'm lacking in this information, where do I go find it? Then you're being proactive, and you're going to feel even better about yourself because you're being proactive and learning something. And then you'll feel a little more enough. if we keep staying with the enough thing for the moment. Yeah.
Well, the thing I want to just put magnifying glass on that piece for a second, because there is the challenge that people have sometimes where they will, like, the thing is, the parallel use basically is we curse the darkness versus lighting the candle. And so we sit in the place where we just get upset with what doesn't work, and we complain and bitch about it, saying, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do this, and don't even have the thought of like, well, how would I find out how to do it differently? So your point is so clear and so important, because it is vital, I feel, in this life, that when we don't have the answer to something and we wish we knew better how to do it, we should go seek someone who can help us with that. Now, discernment's key as well, because there are certain teachers out there. Basically, you know the term snake oil salesman. That's what they're like. So you definitely have to do some discernment and test drive and verify. And I definitely had that experience myself in much of the work I've been involved with and learning from. Some teachers are absolutely my favorite people, and some teachers I'll never go with again because I learned the lesson. So going from the knowing what is not knowing what you don't know, into you now start knowing what you don't know. And this is where the work becomes clear, because you start recognize, oh, hang a second, I didn't know how to do that. So now I want to find out how to do it, so I can then I can know how to do that. That becomes the next level. So it's like the journey of this work, which is ideally when you do this between relationships, which is what we're talking about now, is like you might be ready for a new relationship if it's the premise that this is when it's the best time to start doing the work versus waiting until you get to the next relationship and then you forget about it again. So do the work.
Yeah, because that's what we get in the same relationship over and over again until we do the work. So one of the other things I have come across with myself and other people is we're not over the last one or the last 3 or the last 10. We're still pining. We're still only remembering the good parts. We're only remembering that who we were with them. We can't be a good person without them. There's all that. And those are all really normal, natural feelings. I'm not saying don't feel them. I'm just saying if you're still feeling them a lot, it's not time to get in a relationship at all. Indeed. There's no room.
No, that is, we that unrequited love, that feeling like we want to fix the old problem by replacing it with a new problem. It's it's like it's insanity, really, doing the idea. But there is a sense after you break up with somebody, and I'm sure many of us have felt this way, certainly myself, is like, if I could go back in that relationship again, I'm missing what I had, because we start looking back with a slightly rose-tinted view of things, because we didn't, all the problems we had in a relationship, when we're out of it, we look back at the good stuff and forget all the bad stuff.
Yep.
It's like, no, the key thing is you broke up for a reason. And 91% of the time, yes, it can be worth going back, but 99% of the time it doesn't work. So then, as we said it before, and we keep saying this, what happened? What did I learn? What mistakes did I make? What can I change? What can I improve upon to have a better relationship the next time I go into a relationship? So there's a springboard effect available if you're willing to face that fact that this one's over, time to move on.
Yeah. And what can you learn sooner?
Yes.
What can you learn? So the thing is, you're learning, not only do you learn about another person, you're learning about who you are with somebody like that. Did you like who you were with somebody like that? Are there things about them that you want again? And then the things that didn't work out, that isn't for you, then how do you shift being the person that attracted that and was attracted to them? So with everyone, if you can use it as a learning tool, because that's what you and I talk with our clients about. Well, let's look at the pattern. Let's look at the history as a learning tool, as a growing tool, to see what patterns there are. What ways have you grown? I mean, sometimes I look and I go, well, look at the things that you did better, and they didn't even realize they did things better. There's still this couple of things that you're still doing that's not working, and you've figured out some things. Because that's the thing, often don't you hear it, that people say, yeah, I didn't like that, and I don't want that to happen again. Great. And what are you going to do about it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. No, you need to figure it out ahead of time, not in the middle of the same relationship.
That's why I get help. Yeah.
Yeah. So pining, if you're pining, that's the best word I can use, because I think both men and women can pine equally. If you're still wishing and hoping, and they fill your mind, and you just can't move forward yet, okay, Everybody has their pace. I mean, grieving people, I don't rush anybody. And breaking up people and divorce people, you need to take your time. And what happens is you'll get frustrated, hopefully, that you want to say, how do I move forward from this? How do I take what I learned and grow from it? How do I not keep having this weight around me holding me back? So if you're still pining, not learning from, but wishing it was back, wishing you had them back, that's, you can't, it makes it, you have a handicap or a deficit if you're going to try to get in a relationship while you're pining for somebody else.
Oh, it's such a messed up way of doing things because your energy is so distracted. You're not fully present with the person you're being in relationship with, which isn't good. It's not respectful either for the other person.
No, that's the people that stop in the middle, go, oh, I didn't realize I wasn't ready.
Yeah, it's almost like a drive-by. It's not cool. So the biggest gift you can give your new future partner is to be a better partner yourself, as we talked about. You talk about it in your work too. It's so vital, I feel, that when we go through a breakup and we have a past relationship that we're now maybe yearning for, longing for, saying something, or feeling rejected from, or dejected about, or upset about, or feeling I can't get over it, that's the time to start looking at what do I want to be? Who do I want to be going forward? Because I want to have a better relationship next time, or at least as good as it was before, if it was a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I need to do for myself to become the partner that deserves that, that's worthy of that can have that and can sustain it?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you meet somebody, you're in a better place, because the other part is that when you start looking at yourself and really transform your own experience of who you are and what you're about, the quality of the dates you meet improve as well. Yeah. So it's worth doing the work.
And if you really learn from your past relationship, sometimes you really do want something, some of the things the same, but some of the things really different because you've grown and you've changed. And you wouldn't, even if what was good then, there was some good things, some of those good things might not be good now because your needs are different. Your things that you want to talk about, the activities you want to do, the kind of person you want to be with, you might have changed in such a way that even that person who you're pining for really wouldn't be the right person now anyway. So to come to the realistic place of, thank you, I learned so much. I learned good things, hard things, bad things. Bless you. So happy. And I'm moving forward now. I'm moving forward from what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a key place. And the other thing also, and this I've known for some of my clients, I haven't been this way myself, but there's no distance and no gap between relationships, especially if they've been in a relationship or you were married for 25, 30 years and suddenly you're single again. That feeling can be, it's almost like feeling like you're losing a limb, because it's such a transformation experience of suddenly losing something you've been in relationship with for so long. You don't even know who you are anymore. And so you definitely may not be ready for a new relationship if you've just gone through a divorce, breakup, or become widowed from losing a partner you're with for 20, 30 years. It's not just, okay, let's get the dating app start from scratch, because first of all, you don't know how to navigate the apps yet, probably. But secondly, you got some internal work to do to realign back to your own values again, because most people come out of a relationship, they're so in that relationship and so enmeshed with the other person, there's a level of codependency that causes them to not be whole themselves. They become independent again. So this is part of the journey of coming back to wholeness when you come out of a breakup. So yes.
Get reacquainted with who you are today.
Exactly.
And have a little space in between.
Yeah.
You know, go do some activities so you can, gosh, I've always wanted to do this, or I used to like that and don't anymore. Do that kind of a thing, even just if it's for 6 months or 9 months or even a year, to just get who you are solidified. Because how would you know who you want to be in a relationship with if you don't know who you are first?
Exactly.
So the other thing I've run into with my clients is, you're not ready for a new relationship if you don't have time. It takes time to date. It takes time to get to know a person. It takes time to develop a relationship once you've reached that step. And people have very busy lives, whether they're working full time or working part time or even retired. Oh my gosh. My friend that I ride with every day, she's been with her husband 67 years, so she's not in this boat. We were talking about today how busy doing really fun thing, interesting things, and that I have to make certain I leave time for dating and meeting new people, because how am I going to get into a relationship if I don't have time to date? But lots of people, oh, I'll make time when I meet them. Well, no, how are you going to meet them if you don't?
Right.
It seems kind of backwards to me.
Well, that's the other part that happens too. There's a different paradigm. Is some people once they come out of a relationship, fill up their lives with so much stuff they haven't got time to date. But the thing about this is, and I've seen it happen before, is they fill up their life with so much stuff to avoid facing their own emotional turmoil, their emotional upset, and their emotional wounding. So even if they do make time for a relationship, all that upset they're still carrying inside is going to get dumped on the new partner. So that's not healthy either. So yes, make time to be a new partner, but also make time to be healing yourself at the same time as well. So yeah, absolutely, it's a powerful key.
Certainly one of the things you can do while you're in your in-between time is not only finding things to do that make you feel happy and whole, also carving out some downtime, some relaxing time, some time that you're just working on yourself, that you think, oh, this would be really fun time to spend with somebody else. This is like cleaning out a part of your closet. That's what I always tell people that have everything's packed, there's no room. I said, even if, which I have clients that are doing the living apart together thing, they have separate houses.
Yeah.
And they go back and forth a lot. So they need a drawer and they need a little closet space. So it's important to have already created that. It's helpful to have some breathing space in your personal life, your body and your mind and your heart, and then your house or your condo, whatever you live in, your home, so that you can accommodate someone else. That, I love cooking with somebody, so I like knowing that I have space in my kitchen for two people. It's cozy, but it's fun. And
Right.
that they have a drawer. I have a drawer that's available if there's somebody in my life that needs a drawer. And they have a spot in the medicine cabinet and they have a spot in the closet. And it just sits there ready for whoever the next person is. And then their stuff leaves and the next person comes, because that's what happens in dating sometimes. I'll be
Sometimes.
transparent about that. I tell my
Yeah.
clients I'm in the trenches with you. And it's people go, oh, space. Yeah, space. That makes sense. Because if you go to their house, don't you want to be able to leave a toothbrush and leave a hairbrush? I mean, carting everything back and forth, if you're in a regular relationship, gets really old.
Really fast. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the feng shui thing, I think, as well. They talk about how you're going to make space to accommodate a new relationship. So, and that's the same as I said earlier about having space in your schedule and in your social life to have room for a relationship. Same thing's true physically in your house and your home as well. That's the thing, is that sometimes when you're so driven to be independent and be on your own, you don't even look at life through the lens of having somebody next to you doing it with you. So part of this focus as well is to expand your way of looking at the world. So you maybe approach things how you do it with somebody else. We talked in other episodes. I think we're talking episodes about, like, take yourself out on dates and take yourself to the movies, take yourself out to dinner and stuff like that. Well, part of that is also to get accustomed to being outside again, because sometimes you've been such a hermit after a breakup, you're not even ready to go out and date. So doing things that incorporate being in the world, which you can accommodate with your imaginary partner, so to speak, to see life through that lens. It can be really healthy, because it's in a way what you're doing. It's like you're riding a stationary bike. You're pedaling and learning how to do it again until you let loose and you go riding again. So it's the idea with a relationship is that you're building a new, or I should say, rebuilding a muscle you haven't used for a while, which is how to accommodate another person and be in that spaciousness of relationship. So lots of things you can do with this.
I love that idea. Take yourself out on a date. Such a good recommendation. So this is the thing that you and I always start at as a foundation, and it felt like we needed to talk about some of the other things that are in the way of people saying, so figure out what you want and need in a relationship and write it down. And part of figuring it out is doing all the things we've now been talking about for 30 minutes. We've given you so many ways to go, what do I want and need? How much time do I have time to spend with somebody? How much energy do I have to spend with somebody? Wow, I've started this new activity. That would be something fun to have somebody do. Oh yeah, I used to like doing that. And I don't really, if they want to do it, I don't want to do that with them. That you get more clear about what your needs are for a partner. And what you're now created this whole person of who you are. What do you bring to a relationship? It's so foundational to do this work. Everybody's like, really? I go, uh-huh. I just got, I love telling everybody I got my third wedding invitation for clients, because most of my clients don't want to get married, but I've had 3 now that wanted to get married. That
Yes.
doing this work, you know when the right person shows up. You just know. You know as you're getting to know them. Not the first date. You and I talk about that doesn't happen. But
Right.
you're going to know. You're going to know, yes, this is, you know, this isn't, as you're asking questions and moving along, because you've figured out what you need and want. And it is essential to write it down clearly: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. Those are you could add more categories, but at least do those, because
Absolutely.
that's the foundation of all people. You know, you need to be mentally compatible and stimulated, and emotionally feel comfortable and safe and appreciated, and physically balance what you want to do together. And it's okay to do things separately. And then if you're spiritual or religious or not, and somewhere in there, I guess you have to add political. I ended up writing to 2 different guys who looked really interesting, and we had so much in common. And I am conservative. It says it on I'm not super right, but I am to the conservative side. And it says it on my profile. And they were both liberal. I realized generally left people don't even want to talk to me. And they both wrote back, "Oh my God, your profile is so fascinating. And I'd written the things, we really do have a lot in common. I don't think politically I could get over it." Okay. Okay. I think
It's
I could. I don't know until you have a conversation with you and see how far each of us are. They didn't even want to have a conversation. And I'm like, okay. So I'm going to say that out loud. I guess you have to have a conversation about that, even though I'm more flexible, I guess, than most people.
well, that's
Even when I write to moderates, it's interesting conversation too. Sorry.
yeah. No, I was going to say that the thing about this is that in this context, you know, the challenge is we've unfortunately come to a place where this country is set up where it's black and white. There's no spectrum of grey. And in political views, I like to think that there's probably a 50 shades experience of spectrum, so to speak, of
Yeah.
grey between each side.
Well,
So it is not, if you're this, you automatically must believe this, 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 and this. It's like, no, this is just where you lean your tendencies, and that's the thing's
yeah.
different. And I've had the same experience, but it's also, I see the dating profiles, with the women who I see, they say, you know, definitely none of this. They want, this is the way they are, and nobody else. It's like, there's no negotiation. There's no room to look. Even it doesn't matter what else is in common. So it's really interesting how we use that as a wedge or as a wall between us. So definitely not a good idea.
Yeah.
But
Because there's sometimes, oh, sorry, go ahead.
what I say, the thing I want to say is knowing what you want in a relationship is definitely, yes, it can be something you build your list as it's like building the wings as you're flying. It's like building a list based on the people you meet and go, well, that works, that doesn't, and make your list that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's good to start, as you said earlier, that you start getting clear about what it is you really want in a partner, how you want to have a relationship. You know, we talked about going on a date. I created an online course a while ago, which is still out there for women, that helps them create the relationship they want. But it's like all the self-reflective questions and directions, and then the embodiment practices I give them to make them more self-aware to move into that relationship paradigm. And that's the thing, is that most people looking for relationships are so busy looking out there, they're not looking inside to become self-aware enough to be a good partner. Like you were saying, are you going to be the right partner for somebody? It's definitely about looking in the mirror more often than it is looking outside, to start saying, what is it I bring? What do I need? How do I feel? All those things that are important on all the levels, as you said. So I want to really underscore that point, that this is the best time when you're single to do this sort of thing. So start looking at yourself, choosing, and also, as you said earlier, valuing who you are, because you may start having, after that breakup, especially if the other person wasn't the most loving and kind when you broke up, you might have to do some rebuilding of your own ego and self-esteem after that. So take the time to really value who you are and take care of yourself, because you are deserving an amazing relationship, but you need to remember that.
Boy, that's a good point. So that's the opposite of pining, that your heart is so broken because they treated you badly. They undermined your self-confidence, that they made you feel that maybe you felt kind of okay, and then they really made you feel less than and not enough. Fixing that is really important, because what I learned personally quite a long time ago, and keep watching, professionally is we think the right person will show up to heal us. And what I found is this lovely person will show up and they'll say, gosh, all these nice things about you. And you're like, well, I don't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't believe that. I'm sure they're lying. Why would they say that? Because you don't believe it. So until you get to a place where you're like, I am hot stuff and I am just fine as I am and I have things to work on. Generally, I'm a really good person. I am enough. Then when you have somebody lovely show up and they say you're hot stuff, you go, yeah, I am. You're lucky to have dinner with me. How fun is that?
There you go.
And it was a fun thing to learn. I learned so much in my 30s and 40s. I just felt like I was going to graduate school in this. And so it's what I get to teach my clients, because what's so amazing is once they really start feeling solid in whatever they've fixed these hurts, the conversations that they're having with men are so much healthier, so much clearer, so much, because that's the thing I said, generally you're going to have a great conversation even if you're not each other's person, if you come from a place where you feel really secure in who you are. Then there's no way he's going to shake it. No way. No matter what he says or does. And you'll keep going out with nicer people, more genuine, more interested in you, interested in sharing their information with you. The more confident you are, the more clear you are about, I deserve this, I'm worthy of this. So yeah, boy, getting over that hurt. Oh, because it's real. Our hearts get broken, our egos get damaged, and we need to repair that before we go out and get in another relationship.
Yeah, it's the one that's the one I pray have the most experience with clients. That's because I went through it myself. Is to really recognize the internal rewiring that we need to start putting back in place and to start repairing the damage, so to speak. Because it is emotional, it is mental, it is debilitating because of those things that were said to us, or we felt, or we took on as wounds, or we basically didn't trust ourselves. So that's the thing, as you said, absolutely. It's like to find someone else who thinks going to trust you enough for you to trust yourself is the backwards. It really is to do the work yourself to be a better partner. I'm going to keep hammering this point home. It's like, be willing to learn how to trust yourself again before you meet somebody else. Because when you trust yourself, first of all, when you meet somebody else, you'll know automatically if they're trustable or not because you trust yourself. Because the other part is that's dangerous, I would say, is more often than not, is that when you come in a relationship heartbroken and wounded and you start looking for the next person, you could get taken advantage of, if not emotionally, if not physically and financially too. So to be self-aware enough and to notice, look in the mirror honestly and see who you are and see what's I'm gonna say broken is not the right word, but that you want to repair, that you want to improve, you want to refine. Do that first. Again, Nikki makes point again and again, is while you're single, take care of yourself and build up your own healthy respect for yourself, because then you create better boundaries, greater sense of trust, better sense of self-respect. So then when you meet somebody, those barometers become the gauge by which you measure other people too. Yeah. So it's worth doing the work.
That was so important, Barry. And being vulnerable is very important as you're getting to know people. The hurt vulnerable is unhealthy.
Exactly.
So you made that distinction so clearly. I wanted to just emphasize that, because when you come as a wounded person, and there's real reasons we're wounded. I'm not making light of that. We need to, like, if you have a broken arm, you don't go out and play tennis. You wait till your arm is healed. So if you treat your same feelings, heart, everything that's gotten hurt by whatever, the breaking up, the death, the divorce, then healing that. What I've learned is things can just be even stronger after. You need to take the time to heal, so that when you're being vulnerable with somebody, it's not coming from a weak position, it's coming from a place of strength. And it sure feels different when you know the difference. I didn't understand the difference in the beginning, and boy, it was really amazing to learn that.
Yeah, it is sometimes the hardest thing to face because there's so much pain tied into it, but it is such a liberating experience to become that free. So yeah, I've definitely learned myself it was worth the journey, because frankly, it, as I said earlier, just like you start to really raise your own standards and respect yourself enough to choose a better level of quality of life you want to have. So that way the people you would have chosen in that wounded place fall away because they don't match where you are now. And the great thing is when you do raise your standards and raise your own self-esteem, your own self-evaluation, and so again, self-respect, self-trust increase, the people you meet, the people who qualify in your own eyes, start to transform and change themselves. So this is how this works. So yeah, this is when you'll know you will be ready.
Yeah. And you learn to treat yourself more kindly, which makes it so that you don't allow other people in your life that don't treat you just as kindly as you treat yourself, and keeps you treating other people kindly when they deserve it. Because that's the really important thing to keep track of.
Yes.
The people who say, oh, I'm too nice, I fall in love too fast, I wear my heart on my sleeve, it's usually because unhealed hurts, unhealed wounds, feeling not good enough, looking for somebody to fill in our big holes that we perceive we have. And it's really not usually a very good outcome to approach a relationship that way. Because you're either going to find somebody else that's just as damaged, or, as I said, it's fascinating to watch how somebody more healthy will show up and you can't let them in. This is what you think you want. You're craving it, but you won't let them in. It's really sad.
I was going to say sad. It's just well, if you notice it, well, I was saying if you notice it, that's good news.
Yeah.
But when you start to ignore it or suppress it or just think something wrong, there's something wrong elsewhere, you're missing the point. So this journey also is about the feedback you get. And so noticing by how you're being received, how you're receiving other people, how you're feeling about other people, start to do some real honest reflection of that. Because the other part of this too, coming out of a relationship wounded and going to the next relationship, if you're really honest with yourself, you wouldn't choose that. You know better. Yeah. It's not something anybody chooses unless they really are a masochist. I don't mean in a good way. No. So to have an absolutely clear self-perception so that when we are out in the world, we can start to notice, oh, hang on a second, I'm pulling away from that person. There's a reason for that. Let me trust that guidance and then lead from that place. Because sometimes we force ourselves into scenarios that ultimately become more wounding than helpful. So this choice point, again, being single, is where so much is available to us when we're willing to be self-aware and supportive to really notice what's aligned, what's not aligned, and what fits and what doesn't fit.
Yeah, self-aware. That seems to be the call letters for this, because when you're really hurt, when you're wounded, when you feel broken, it's normal to be kind of numb, and you can't be very self-aware. You get grace for that. And just know, oh, I need to be numb while I'm healing. And then when I stop feeling numb, maybe I am more healed and I can go look for a relationship. But when you're numb is not a good time to look for a relationship at all.
No. we preach this
clue, right?
Well, I say we preach this and we preach this and we teach this because we've been there and done that. So we learn from experience, and that's why we're so passionate about keeping our clients.
We've done most of the things that we talk about because that's how we learned, and that's why we teach, because we're like, oh, I learned how to not do that anymore.
Absolutely.
And how to do better. Yeah. So if you've been dating for a while and it's not working, or you're not even sure, gosh, should I start dating? I hope that this has been helpful, because these are key points to not skip over or ignore, and to spend some time looking at each of the points that we've made and see, where are you on your journey? Is it too early? Do you have a pattern? Is there something about you that you realize, oh my gosh, this was something I haven't really acknowledged or done something about? Or, wow, I am feeling less than in this area, and I think that might be holding me back. Then you can say, oh, I'm not ready, but now I know what to do about it.
And who do we
call Barry and Christine.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's the fastest path. You could try on your own, and good luck to you. We learned, we did not do it on our own. We did a lot on our own, but we got lots of teachers along the way. So absolutely. That's why we are honored to be teachers now.
Absolutely. Yes.
So if any of this is resonating with you, one thing or a bunch of things, because I've certainly had a lot of those things that I've succeeded on getting to the other side of, I'd be so happy to talk to you. And the way to talk with me is to go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com, and click on what's holding you back from love. And then you'll answer 10 brief questions and get access to my calendar so you can schedule a complimentary conversation at your convenience. You can also join my mailing list so that you'll get replays of our podcast and stay up on all the news that's going on in my life. And if you scroll to the bottom of my homepage, you'll see all my social media links where you can get on my Facebook page and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. And then you can also send me a personal email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And Barry, please tell people how to reach you.
Well, in a similar fashion, I'm definitely love to support you and help you get some clarity and guidance to where you want to go next and how you want to move forward in your next relationship experience. So the best way to reach me is go to my website, which is barryselby.com. On the homepage, there's a link at the top of the screen, which you can get a session with me, which is take your next step. And on there's also a form that you fill out, and then you can get on my calendar and we can have this conversation and see if we want to work together, because it's a mutual conversation. This is a relationship we're building here. So you've got to have communication on both sides. At the bottom of the homepage is a link to my email list where you can join in and get my weekly emails, which also include replays of the show and also things I'm going up to and things I'm offering and doing as well. I mentioned earlier in the show that I do have an online program which is actually for women called Attract the Man You Want. That program's been going for a long time. I'm actually getting it rebuilt right now. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me. I'll tell you more about it, but I don't have it available to get to right now. So reach out to me for more information on that. Also on my website is the quiz that I created, which is, again, this is the perfect time for it. It's about if you're ready for a new relationship. The quiz I have is a relationship readiness assessment. Amazing how that fits. So if you go to my
that too, Barry.
Yes. So you go to barryselby.com/quiz. You can take the quiz. It's got a little Wizard of Oz flavor to it. And basically give you some questions to answer, which will give you some clarity and some guidance. It may be a little bit confronting because some of the questions you answer, you may go, oh, okay, I understand now. But that's the good news, because when you have that honesty with yourself, you'll be able to move forward more easily. And on social media, my name is on all my social media platforms, except Instagram and Threads is the real Barry Selby. But if you go to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, especially Pinterest, that's all Barry Selby. So you can find me there as well. And also, of course, we have our podcast. So you can find us everywhere.
Every week at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern and all the times in between. So we'd be happy if you want to join us live and ask questions. We're happy to answer them live while we're here. You can also go to our YouTube channels and watch them on replay and share them with your friends and like and subscribe. And then you can also go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you can take us with you and listen when you're walking or working out or shopping. We're everywhere with you.
Indeed. We do what we can.
Yes. So we'll be back next week with another stimulating subject and hope that you'll join us.
So take care of yourselves in between, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye for now.
Bye.